Hey guys, Julian Lello here, Melbourne-based fashion photographer, and in today's video I'm going to take you through 8 tips for better fashion photography. Now the bulk of these 8 tips can be broken down into 2 categories. Those things that are kind of ever evolving and that you can do prior to a shoot, and then those things that you can do on location with your camera in hand. So moving straight into that first category with tip number 1, and that is to do your research. Research your location, research your models, research the garments that you'll be shooting. If you're working for a client and they have chosen all 3 aspects of this photo shoot, location, model, and garments, by doing your research, it can not only really help you elevate your images, but it can also really help you relax on the day. If you have time to do a site visit of the location, particularly at the time of day you are shooting, so that you can see how the light hits if you're shooting with natural light, having a look at some interesting compositions and angles that you might be able to use on the day can be really valuable and get you that one step ahead. Researching the models that you'll be shooting with is also really important. By having a quick look on Instagram, you can gauge how experienced they are. For example, if you're shooting with a relatively inexperienced model on the day, you may want to put together a little mood board of poses or things that might help them relax on the day and in turn give you a better end result. Researching the garments, looking at little fine details that you may be able to capture on the day, as well as seeing how garments sit, different ways they move, can also help elevate your imagery. Moving into tip number 2, and that is to build a team. Now don't get me wrong, you can create some amazing fashion photography just yourself with your camera and a model. But over time, if you can develop a team of a stylist, hair and makeup artist, and assistant, it can again take your fashion photography to the next level. By having them around on the day, it just allows you to take your mind off a few other aspects of the shoot and concentrate on what you're there for, and that is taking imagery, getting your settings right, concentrating on light, and posing the model. A stylist can help you ensure that the garments aren't creased, that logos are nice and flat, that there's no tags hanging out. A good makeup artist can save you so much time in post-production when you have to do that much less skin work. And as for an assistant, well, who doesn't want an extra set of hands on a photo shoot? Tip number 3, and this is probably the most important of the 8 tips, and that is to learn light. Like with any genre of photography, light is so important. And with fashion photography, it's really important to learn both natural light and artificial light. Now I know artificial light can be really daunting when you're starting out, and it was for me too, but natural light doesn't always play nice. So being able to have a backup with artificial lights can just ensure that you get the shots that your client requires on the day. Learning how to use both and how to manipulate it to create different moods can also really set you apart as a fashion photographer. Moving on to the first of those tips that you can do on location, and that is to use a range of focal lengths. By using a range of focal lengths, you can create that much more of a dynamic set of images. For example, shooting a little wider can help you create some interesting distortions or angles and lines in a location, but it can also help you elongate limbs, which is perfect for something like swimwear photography. Moving on to tip number 5, and that is to control your aperture. Unlike in portrait photography where you focus on that front eye and you can use a really nice low f-stop to create some depth of field and a really nice beautiful bokeh blurry background, fashion photography requires you to get not just the face but the whole body in focus, because at the end of the day, fashion photography is about capturing the garments that the model is wearing. So I like to shoot where the light allows at f3.5, f4 and above. I don't even mind sacrificing a little bit of ISO if it means I can shoot at this aperture range. Tip number 6 is to incorporate movement. Now movement not only creates a more dynamic image, but it can also really help when showing off a garment. If you do that research like I mentioned in tip number 1 and you know that you may be shooting a dress, for example, having the model throw the dress around or walk or spin a little bit will just help to show off that garment nicely and make it a little bit more interesting for the viewer. Sticking with the garment, and the next point is to shoot the details. Exactly like it sounds, zoom right in and capture anything interesting you see. It could be zippers, logos, or interesting stitching. By shooting these details, it can really help your client sell a garment. Now I always say to shoot these details separately rather than just cropping in from a larger image, because you want to make sure you nail that focus and the image quality is as high as it can be. Moving on to the final point, a really important one, and this one is done after the shoot, and that is to master your edits. when it comes to fashion photography, there is a really fine line between conveying your style and keeping colors true to life. Where in other genres of creative photography, an edit is really up to your eye and your imagination, fashion photography is a means of selling a product. So it's really important that the viewer, particularly in this day and age of internet shopping, sees an accurate representation of what they will be purchasing. So with that said, keep in mind correct white balancing and minimal color manipulation when editing your images. Another tip when it comes to fashion photography is learning how to dodge and burn. Even if it's only in Lightroom, a good dodge and burn can really elevate your fashion photography. So that's it guys, 8 tips for fashion photography. If you enjoyed this video, got a little something out of it, let me know down in the comments, help me out with a like, subscribe to my channel, and as always, thank you for pressing play.